Hi everybody, my name is Noel Davis. I'm here with Wormiculture, and I'm going to go over how I sort some of my worms out from their bins. So what I have here is I have one of my bins. I have a mixing tub that's actually meant, I think, for concrete. That's you can find it at Home Depot or Lowe's. And over there in the corner I have a light. I have an LED light in it, which is to simulate daylight to get the worms to burrow. The other thing that I use here is I always wear one glove on the hand that I'm going to do for most of the sorting. And the reason for that is I have found that my hands will dry out and they'll crack, and also the fact that this stuff gets really impacted into your nails. So it's worth having these just cheap disposable gloves, and now I'm ready to go. So this is the first bin I'm going to do here, and I think there's a lot of worms on top. Now I'm going to, instead of putting them right in here, I have a little container I'm going to put them in, and this makes it a little bit easier for me, so that way I don't have to work quite as hard to move them from bin to here. And if I have multiple bins, I just keep moving this around and then I dump it in here to get all the worms in there to get them to sort through. So first off, let's open the top here. As you can tell, there's, or if you can, I'm not sure, you can tell there's quite a few worms right in here. This one actually smells really bad. It's really overly moist. All the worms are on top because, well, they can't really dig down because there's too much moisture in the bin. So really my goal was to kind of sort some of the worms out of here for various purposes and probably put them in different bins as well. So we're just going to take this here. We're going to start putting them in here and try to leave some of the food in there if I can. Alright, we're getting there. As I said, this is very moist, this bin. This bin really is, has too much moisture in it, and look at this. This is just slop in there. It's not good compost really. It's not really good for anything. But I'm going to try to sort through this, get out the worms, which are actually quite big in here. This would be good for fishing probably. These type of worms. But we're going to just try to get all these out, or as many as we can right now. And we're going to start sorting through them to try to separate them from the compost. Oh, there's a lot of cardboard in here too that isn't even touched. It shows how moist this bin is. Or you have stuff like this in the bottom of it. So I think that's good for now. The rest of them we'll just let sit in there. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this right here. And I'm going to zoom in on that in just a minute here. And there we go to dump that out. I'm going to move this around a little bit. Oh wow, this is really overly moist. I didn't realize how moist this one was. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the water running down into the corner here. So I'm going to have to try to dry this out at some point, probably by leaving the lid off, which I think I might start doing right now, even though it kind of smells, and I'm going to be down here for a while, but oh well. So I'm going to move this to the side, and we're going to start sorting here. So I'm going to shift this over, and zoom in a little bit here. Alright, let's try that. Alright, this is the light that I use right here. And you can see, maybe not. There we go, that's a little better. You can see that there's a pile of worms there. And what's going to happen is they're going to start burrowing down. So, I have my light, I've got the worms, and then I'm just going to start picking stuff off the top as they burrow down underneath. So, as you can tell, there's a huge thing of cardboard here. Ton of worms in there as well. Take it apart, throw it to the side. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, you can't get every worm. It's just not possible. My original goal was to try to get every worm out I could. I realized that is not going to happen. You just got to do the best you can. So, you just got to keep going. See how they're digging down? Eventually you start pulling off big chunks like that. You can throw those to the side, and they will just keep digging down and digging down. So, this is how you sort through worms. You can't tell I'm breathing a little heavy through my mouth. It's because I don't want to breathe through my nose. This does smell pretty bad. This isn't what I wanted for a worm bin, but it happens sometimes when I forget about them or leave one on the bottom that I didn't mean to leave on the bottom for so long, and they sort of get soggy like this. So, but as you can tell, there was a lot of healthy worms in here, and they were still eating. And it becomes a top feed bin when you have this much liquid in it, really. and it's fairly easy to feed them when they're all on the top. So, as you can tell here, more cardboard. I mean, look at that. This stuff is not even touched, and it's been in there probably for a while. But lots of worms on them. They do like cardboard. So, you stack this back up. Another piece of cardboard right here. I see, you can see the one thing that's nice about it being wet is they sort of slide out, which normally doesn't really happen, but when it's a little drier, they just tend to stick to it a little bit because there's moisture in their skin, and they're more moist in their environment. When it's the other way around, they tend to sort of slide right off. So there's some, as you can tell, they're still digging down pretty quick. And these are really big red worms, I have to say. I'm going to just pull off a huge chunk here and put it to the side. Let's see, and then if you leave the light on them, they'll dig right back down, and eventually there won't be any on top. I tend to move a little bit quicker than they do, but you know, that's just the way it is. Everybody wants to get done a little faster, right? Now, you can't tell, I've separated these kind of into two piles a little bit. So that way I can kind of work two piles at once. Nice big worm right there. Look at me, look at this. Look at that. I can't see in the camera without the light on it now, but that worm's a good, what, 3-4 inches long. So the worms in here tend to be a little bigger than some of my other bins because of how moist it is, though. Usually I'm used to seeing worms maybe about this size when they come out of the out of my other bins. They're usually pretty small. But this one right here, I'm guessing because of the extra moisture, they need to be bigger so they can push their way through it, and they do. They get bigger. So that's what happens, in my opinion. I can't say it's very scientific, but it's what I've noticed. All right. There we go. We got more cardboard in here. You can see some of the coffee grounds I had in here. It's one of my favorite foods to give worms, actually, is coffee grounds. I have tons of them. They're easy to get. So when I get low on food, or I'm trying to get some, usually actually I'll add them after I've used them. I'll let them dry out, and I'll add those to bins. So that way they'll be nice and dry, and they'll absorb liquid sometimes. So I've done that before. You can see this one right here, this pile right here, they've all dug down. So now I can kind of start taking off the top here a little bit. See, there's very few in that. The only problem is that this really is not, it's chewed, the stuff in here, there's some stuff that's really, really digested, I could tell, and then there's stuff that's not digested at all. So I might have to add this to one of my other bins that's a little bit drier and see if we can get them to eat this. So we'll see. I don't know yet. So, alright. Look at this guy. Alright. Keep going here. As I said, you're never going to be able to get every single worm. You're going to have worms that stick to the gloves, stick to the compost. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that you cannot sort out every single worm. And you just have to keep going until you get down to what you have. And also I view it as the ones that are slow, they're either really young. I tend to throw this stuff back into one of my other bins where it can, one of my flow-through bins, and let them work from there. Some people I've also thrown it right directly in my yard. I'm sure other people would too, or into some place where you need a boost of nutrients. So I've done that too. I've even thrown this actually, I don't really throw this in this material like this into pots, but I have done other material that's a little bit better composted directly into pots. All right, now see, like if we flip this over here, look at this. You can see all the worms in here now. See, this has actually quite a few worms in it. And these are going to start digging back down again. I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you flip the pile over. And this one's here too. See a whole bunch of worms here on the bottom. You can just rip those off. You can put them right on here. So This is a kind of an intensive process, but I'm hoping that eventually I'll figure out a way to do it a little faster without buying a couple $1,000 machine to do it. But we'll see. I don't know. If I do, I will let everybody know if I make another machine. But I've tried a couple, and so far none of them have worked the way I've planned. But part of it, I think, is because a lot of my bins, by the time I get to them, they're overly moist like this, which doesn't really help. Because this stuff is hard to sort through if you can't tell. It doesn't just roll off the worms. Well, at least when you go through the machine like this, it works great because they just tend to slide right through it. But when you're putting it through a tumbler or something, they tend to stick in it, I've found. Or I should say it tends to stick to the tumbler itself, and then it doesn't move through. All right, we're getting down here. Now what I would do typically, I'm not going to show everybody this, but I would actually do this for the entire bin and slowly move through it, try to get out as many worms as I can, get the compost out that I can. I really am trying to do this not for the compost itself. I really try to do it just to actually sell worms online on eBay every once in a while to try to make back some of the money I've spent on this. And making these videos too obviously might help, but the real reason is just so that way I don't have to send all my food waste to the dump and have it processed. I'd rather go to a compost pile or something. I don't have the backyard really for a compost pile, so this is what I do. I do this in the house, and actually here's a little egg right here. I'm not sure you can see it, but that's an egg. Let me lower that a little bit. That's an egg right there on my fingertips, and I'll put that over here. So. But the real reason for me doing this is because I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and while I don't grow as many as I like here, I don't like also throwing all my food out in the trash or in the garbage disposal or anything like that. So this allows me to do this in my house and kind of not have it be part of the waste process. For whatever reason you're doing it, I hope you enjoy doing it as much as I do. I find this to be somewhat relaxing, especially after a long day of work. Just come down here, relax, get away from the kids. Sometimes they help, sometimes they don't. Obviously, as you can tell tonight, they are not. They'd rather do something else, like watch a show, or I think they're getting ready for bed right now. But so this is the process here for organizing. If it's with this bin, a lot of the worms are right on top, so it made it fairly easy to get them out without too much effort. But it's not always like this, I have to say. The first time I did this, it was a very, very tedious process. It was not something that I would choose to do all the time, I can tell you that much. This is much easier when you have a whole pile of worms just right on top. And it's a little bit mucky, but not too bad. I've had a lot worse. I've had it where one of my bins, I was sorting it out, and it had rained, and it was an outdoor bin, and it got saturated right before I went to sort it, and I didn't realize that, and I didn't realize that there was just a ton of muck, thicker than this in the bottom, and it was really hard to sort the worms out of it. But, that happens, and you deal with it. So, as you can tell, the light is helping here to help them burrow down. I keep every once in a while pushing everything back towards the center. They will tend to try to escape, like this one right here is trying to escape. Just kind of push them back under, and they'll figure it out. But, alright, we're getting pretty good here. We're getting down to the end here where I've sorted most of this out. So what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to show you, is I put these in a temporary holding place. That way I can finish off sorting the rest of my bin. And then eventually what will happen is I'll recreate the bin with cardboard, probably some crushed eggshells that I use as a starter, and then I'll also throw these worms in. And one great thing about it, you don't want to sort all this out. You want to keep some of this in here. This is live active material. This is really good for getting a new bin started. You throw them on top of food that's ready to go with this. This stuff has the microbes in it. So it'll immediately start breaking down the food. They'll immediately move in to start breaking it down as well. They eat the microbes, so you need those microbes. That way they will eat everything. So without those microbes, you're not going to have what you need. All right, this is pretty good. So, all right. So we're getting down here, and I think that's actually pretty good. I don't need to get too much more out. If I get too much more out, I won't have anything to hide under. So that's how you sort through worms. As you can tell, we weren't at this very long. I know I talked through most of it, but that's the basic process. And actually, let me go grab one of my little containers that I use for holding this, and I'm going to put them in there so you can see what that looks like. All right, here's the containers I use. I put them in here temporarily. This way it keeps them close, keeps them moist. And then again, we'll continue to burrow down typically too. But this allows me to just have them kind of sorted out until I get everything figured out for their new bin. And then they're ready to go. So that's it. That's, not quite a pound of worms probably, but that's how many worms were just in the top of that one bin. And there's probably more in there now. I just didn't get them all. And that's out of one bin, and this has only been like a couple months maybe. So hope you enjoyed this. Hope you take up worming for yourself. And again, enjoy. Thank you. Bye.